I'm
Well, at least we
saying.
have Connor in HD.
There it is.
Do you guys want to watch
I'm,
the
I'm
Wild
just
Wild West with me?
I'm gonna
Listen,
highlight Connor's
we
face
are live.
so it stays on Connor the whole time.
Oh, it's awesome.
HD.
You're gonna see me with the old faithful geyser then.
Oh,
All right. Does somebody want to give us a prayer?
I can.
Sweet.
man.
Our Heavenly Father, we're very grateful for this day and this opportunity we have to meet together as a group. We ask that thou please bless us with thy spirit. Bless us this night as we talk about this case. We're grateful for this online class, be able to communicate and collaborate as a group. Help us that our devices might be able to work and stay connected to the Wi-Fi. And we ask these things and do so in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
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 Hey, man.
All right.
Well,
I've got it
Tony the
open.
Tiger.
I'm ready to go this time.
Tony the
All
Tiger.
right.
That
Take it
break
away.
did me some good.
Take it away, Tony the Tiger.
All you
Spiritual
guys.
thought or scripture. I'll talk about one for a quick second. So over the last week and a half, I had my younger brother leave on his mission, and then my older sister come home from her mission. In that order as well. They missed each other by a day. Yeah, kind of crazy. They let them Skype each other, but they did miss each other. Anyways, just all of the mission things happening. I was in Spokane with my family as it happened. Made me kind of reflect on things in my own mission, and coming off the mission, a lot of times, it's an elder's goal to retain the spirituality that he had on his mission. And my dad taught me an important lesson where that's never been enough. Since when is it okay to just retain the spirituality that you have? And my dad, when I came home, made sure to remind me in my closing interview or release interview that it's important to have the goal to continue to increase spirituality. And so I kind of, as all these mission things were happening, had an opportunity to reflect on that and think about what I've done to try to retain and increase my spirituality. And it's hard because it's so much different in the real world, and you have so many different focuses than when you have that singular focus as a missionary. But an important thing that I've learned is to just never miss an opportunity. When the opportunities present themselves, take them and look for opportunities to create opportunities. And I think when we do that, we're doing what the Lord expects us to do. And as we continue to do the basic things that we've been taught, that it's kind of inevitable that we will increase our spirituality. If we're doing those few things, that'll happen. So share that in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Discuss as a group, what grade would you give Morgan for how he pursued Skyhook? Why?
B minus. Well, that's a weird question.
I give them a B plus. I like their hustle. I like that they're willing to adapt, that they're willing to do hard things. I mean, it's got to be a daunting practice to know that you've got to map the entire U.S. I mean, I can't imagine thinking about that. So, I mean, to be able to, be like, yeah, let's have a business plan where we have to do this. I mean, that's some pretty good hustle. So I like that.
Along that same line, though, he's operating under the classic mistake of an entrepreneur, and that is he's stovepiping. Like, he's building the entire background, and he has like zero revenue. I mean, hundreds of millions of dollars is going to end up being spent. I mean, they're not spent that much, but I mean, millions of dollars they're spending to build the background, and they still haven't gotten to sell. Like, I think if he had pursued it much like we've been taught in the class, he would have started with a local advertising gig, and he would have used more of a freemium type system and gained the advertising. the first of the three options that they were talking about, doing that for the first little while to build, a single network that worked in, like, say, New York or one of those metropolitan areas, that they could have started generating revenue, proved and validated their system. I mean, obviously it works, but they're not getting any money, and I think that's part of the problem is that so far it's worked for them. They keep getting more money, but if they aren't able to integrate with any of the producers or generate any revenue, what's the point of investing more money? I mean, that's the thing that I have a hard time with. I mean, I'll look at this and okay, so you got another. I think their last valuation was, something like $32 million or $100 something million. I mean, it was a lot of money on that last round.
Yeah. It was.
How are they able to? I mean, hey, so he's got an idea, but how are they raising that much money when they haven't been generating any income? The pre-money valuation was $32 million. Anyway, I would have liked to have seen him utilize the technology to generate revenue and then work for those larger contracts as they had paying customers. Personally.
Yeah, customers always help.
Yeah, especially when you're running yourself, you're bleeding yourself dry of money. I mean, they were so close to going bankrupt a couple of times.
Oh yeah, and that's the part. And you go back to that other case that we did too, where he maxed out the credit cards, and that's just nuts. Think of this guy, same thing. He's maxed out the cards, right?
Took out a second mortgage. I mean, he's got a lot riding on there to not be making any money.
He's got freaking health and child services calling him to find out if he got enough money to keep the heat on for his kids.
Exactly. Because he applied for health insurance, it's like.
I don't think it was health insurance. He applied for, like, food stamps.
Oh, I thought it said health insurance.
I don't know. Anyway, yeah, starting a business is going to be tough. And as far as maxing out the credit cards and that kind of stuff, that's all going to happen. I mean, unless you got a lot of money, I mean, it's going to take that. But you got to start generating revenue. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm mistaken, but this seems like a business that he could have started generating revenue. He had a working model for $2,000.
Yeah.
He could have started generating some revenue that would have covered those expenses along the way. This isn't like, a company that I've been following, this XTI, that they have to build a multi-million-dollar helicopter or airplane to be able to have even a minimum viable product to go test and fly. Like,
Right. I don't know if I missed something. I had to take a phone call real quick, but I definitely see what you're saying, partly. At the same time, though, I think the rush is to get there before somebody else does. This is a promising thing, and there's potentially several people who could see this opportunity and start working on it. And I think they want to get to the bigger fish before somebody else does, because that's a really favorable place to be. If you're the first person offering a technology like this and you're the only one in the market, that's how I would think about it from his perspective anyway, is that he sees this opportunity, and while local advertising may help bringing in revenue, their focus is on that bigger fish of getting in with these big tech companies before somebody else does. And so I'd give him a pretty good grade, I think, but like I said, totally see where you're coming from on that front. Because
I think he's like those students that go through the classes, get an A, and then they go, "Yeah, I have no idea how I got that grade." Like, he's not quite sure. I don't know. I just feel like it's a really interesting case.
I mean, honestly, like, I'm super impressed with the guy and what he's done. and the sacrifices they've made, that blew me away. The point where the state was calling the other co-founder and asking him if their kids had enough food and if their house was heated. That's kind of nuts. But that does stem from the fact that Parley was talking about, that they were not generating revenue early on. I think now they've gotten in with some companies that, you know, are potentially going to become profitable for them. But, you know, they do need to close a significant deal here soon, or else they're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. Number 4, Skyhook developed a pretty cool technology that has gotten lots of positive feedback. Put yourself in the shoes of Ted Morgan. Why the lack of sales?
Well, I think they talked about it like 100 times. You had to map the United States. I mean, I think it was Intel. It's like we probably should do this so we don't have the competition, but it's going to take a lot of capital to get this done. You know, because they hadn't found a good, viable way to map every street in America.
Well, they mapped a lot of it, though.
Yeah, even after they had it mapped, they still didn't have any sales.
Right. And that's more what I'm, you know, thinking about. Why is it that after they put in all that work, and I mean, there's a graph at the end or in the exhibits that showed that, like, rural areas they still needed working on, but all of the major cities were mapped, and most of just the mid-sized cities in the U.S. The U.S. was almost entirely mapped, from what I understood, anyways.
Yeah.
Outside of those
The
rural
reason why
areas.
the rural was not mapped, it's not that they didn't attempt to map it. It's that the Wi-Fi hotspots or like my Wi-Fi router, it's not going to go more than 300 feet. So if the closest house to my house is 300 yards, and the next house after that's a half mile, like you're just not going to get a lot of very accurate positions because you're not going to have that data. Whereas the GPS will probably work just fine because there's no obstructions. So it actually marries up very well with the GPS, because where the GPS works well, it doesn't, but where the GPS doesn't work, it works. So, I mean, the interaction there is really good, but I think they had the coverage. Their ability to close on the sales was just not there.
That does make it difficult.
Yeah, that either points to a problem of having their value proposition is for their technology or their customer segments is not correct, or their revenue model is not correct, or their channel is not correct and how they're getting there. Something's not right. I mean, otherwise they should be getting sales.
Well, unless people just don't really see the value in it. I mean,
then you'd have poor market fit.
Yeah, that might be simply it. I mean, GPS, like they said, you know, it'd been being developed for 30 years by the government, and I don't know, maybe just even now, like I realize now that it's pretty common and we have it in most of our devices, but I don't know. Maybe they
according to Wikipedia, Skyhook powers location-based services for companies such as Apple, Samsung, Sony, HP, Dell, Sharp, Philips, and MapQuest now.
Huh.
So, I mean, they eventually got in with all the big companies. It's not, I mean, they did. It's just for whatever reason they were having a really hard time getting in there to begin with.
I think it was just, and I had to step away again, but I think it was just the fact that it was an early adoption. These companies, nobody else was doing it yet. And they were talking to a lot of the tech departments of the company, and the tech department would run it through tests, but then the tech department didn't have decision-making power. So by the time it got to the head people, it was kind of diluted. You know what I mean? And so I think this Apple opportunity is huge because they're talking to Steve Jobs himself, and they can show him the potential of the product rather than somebody further down the chain of command.
Well, and plus, it was 10 years ago this came out, and the iPhone 1 had just barely launched. I mean, it wasn't like today where everyone and their 3-year-old has a handheld computer at all times. I mean, people still were buying PDAs which were mostly for business people, and the smartphone industry was just starting to break out. So it might have just been that they were like, "Are we really going to need this?" I don't know. It just seems like maybe. I mean, I'm sure if we didn't have technology and someone's introducing it right now, they probably would be able to jump in it no problem. But I just think maybe there just wasn't the consumer need or something. I don't know. I thought that they'd be able to do well with the 911 stuff with the VoIP, but then they said that the regulation was on the back burner because they didn't need it anymore, so they lost that big old chance. But I don't know. I don't know why they sucked at getting sales.
Well, yeah, I think it was just because nobody really knew the value of it at the time.
Yeah.
You know, but before there were roads, nobody saw the value in cars either.
Right.
And that's kind of what I was getting at the beginning of this, is the fact that like most of these cutting edge technology stuff, they started with a freemium, you know, like take Dropbox, for example. I'll go back to that one. Like
Right.
if they'd have come out to begin with and said, look, you've got to pay $12 a month per person to have, you know, whatever, you know, 10 gigs or whatever of storage space that you want. I just don't see how they would have gotten off the ground. But they, you know, all this time they've got this product that they've built. They've built a network, and instead of like giving it away and gaining customers and building customer notoriety and all of that stuff, right now they're sitting on it and doing demos and spending more money to make it better, but like it's not really like nobody's using it. You know, I mean, honestly, I think if the software producers, I mean, we're talking about, hey, this is kind of cutting edge, right? If these software producers and Apple and whatnot were actually seeing the benefits by actual like things that were taking place in the industry, they'd be far more apt to be willing to pay for it than if it was sitting there. I mean, right now it's like, oh yeah, it sounds like conceptually it sounds like a great idea. Yeah, you can locate yourself, but what are the benefits of it? You know,
Yeah.
they talked about the benefits, but the thing is, you know, when I go to the bank, and it's going to be very similar when you go to a business, like, hey, I've got all this potential. They're going to be like, well, where's the bottom line? Well, I can't show you the bottom line because we don't know fully what that bottom line is going to be. Well, that's kind of the way these big corporations are looking at it. Well, what is this really going to get me?
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you all that, but unless I'm actually seeing it, that's all kind of conjecture. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think you're right there, Parley. This reminds me of a case we did about Kevlar in another class. You know, like Kevlar bulletproof vests and stuff. When Kevlar first came out, they were trying to get into the tire industry and use Kevlar as like the cords that go through tires. And there's a lot happening in the industry where they thought they were going to get into it. It was going to be huge for them. Well, they didn't get in. And it took like 7 years for Kevlar to even start being used for anything large scale. And now it's huge, and it's, you know, it's made them tons and tons of money. But there was that initial issue of they invented this material, but didn't really have a way to show the applications for it. And they were kind of single-minded in the way they could use it. Now, I think this is a little different because Skyhook, they feel like they know the applications, but how well are they able to show those applications to somebody they're going and pitching to? They don't, like you were saying, Parley, they don't have anything that they've already put it into that can show these larger companies what their service is good for. So I think you're right.
The chicken and egg problem.
Yeah.
The chicken and egg problem, you know, the developers were unlikely, and the manufacturers, it's hard to get developers and manufacturers because one wanted a manufacturer already there and the other one wanted a developer already there. And I can see why it could be a problem because I didn't know how to get both parts online at the same time.
You guys are bringing up a bunch of good points that I wasn't thinking about, and over here rethinking my whole case study. And by the way, I did spend more time on this one than I ever have, and so I'm like, how did I not come up with any of these points?
That's why we have these meetings, Connor.
I know that helps. I'm not gonna lie, guys, it helps. because here's if we can go back really quick, I just want to go back to something talking about how they are just frugal with their money. Now I don't know if that's just because they're doing that because they have no money, but honestly, I think it's sweet to see it. They are just going crazy on just trying to make sure that they have the money that they need in order to make the most out of what they got, right? Like going to La Quinta, like how he's like, oh, I stay at La Quinta. And the guy's like, okay, give him the job because obviously it makes sense. I don't know. And he's laughing. Why is he laughing?
Because they realized he was frugal, is what I'm saying.
Oh,
They're just like, give him the job.
Yeah, exactly.
Give him the job.
Exactly.
Come on. It was interesting.
Yeah, he gave it. He's like, oh yeah, we'll invest in him like $6.5 million because he stayed at the La Quinta.
Right. I thought it was kind of funny. I was like, I wonder what would happen. He's like, oh yeah, I'm at the Hilton. They're like, oh, screw that guy. We're not investing with him.
That's exactly what he was inferring.
Right. That's why I laughed.
I stay at the La Quinta too because I'm broke. Nobody's giving me $6.5 million.
Okay. Right. That's why I stay at the Holiday Inn.
That's where I'm at right now.
Yeah. They always have a good breakfast.
Okay. Number 5, review the deals below and describe the proposed deal outcome and lessons learned. We have Microsoft, the E911, and Nokia. Sorry.
Well, the first one, they wanted $200,000 up front and then like a set fee per device going forward. The outcome was we'll pay you half what you wanted up front and we won't pay you anything after that.
Right. Which also was basically them saying, we don't want to work with you anymore, and we know you don't want to take this deal. That's kind of what I thought.
I don't know that it was that they didn't want to work. I think it really boiled down to the fact that they just didn't have a good concept of what the value proposition could bring in.
Yeah. I was just thinking they're like, this is too risky. Let's just lowball them, and either we'll get a good deal or they're back out. So.
Yeah, well, that may have been it as well.
Because, I mean, they basically, not only did they make their initial offer half, but they would have gotten more, like, residual income, basically, along the way. And then they're like, yeah, forget that. I'm like, man, that was probably rough. Especially since they signed all the paperwork, and they're just waiting for the return documents.
I know, it was like, it was approved and everything, or it seemed.
Yeah, that would be so depressing.
Is there, why do you think they did that? What do you think changed their minds? Because they had it all nailed out, or laid down, and.
Well, I think we can talk about it. I just think there's just so many variables in this type of company that I think they're just like, wow, do we really want to put this much money? There's just not enough information.
Right. It just makes me think and reinforces to me how big this Apple opportunity may be, because Apple is known for being an early adopter of technology. And that's what this is. They need somebody who's ready to take this technology on, hoping and thinking that it's going to be a big deal, even though there's not a lot to show for it right now.
Yeah. The thing that was surprising to me is that they're like, oh, Apple's like really harsh on the deals. Like, dude, if Apple takes your stuff, give it to them for whatever cost they want, basically, because you'll eventually be just fine.
Is it bad?
But if you're like
that too?
At the same time, the questions are like, am I coming through fuzzy? I'm hearing an echo on my computer. I don't know if I'm coming through poorly or if
I'm hearing it too.
Okay. Anyways, it's throwing me off. I keep hearing my own voice.
Keep hearing my own voice.
Stop. No, I'm totally off. Oh yeah, the whole thing about them paying Apple. What are your thoughts on that? I may be jumping the gun on that, but I was like, you know what? I think Apple wants this, and the fact that Google came to them, that may give them a good BATNA, a good alternative. But at the same time, maybe they don't want to use Google. Maybe they want to keep themselves separate, and that's not really a very, strong BATNA for them.
Well, we know that they eventually cut off everything from Google. I mean, Apple even stopped providing Google Maps. It's a separate app now you have to get. They made their own Maps program.
Yeah.
But the fact is I think if you offered it to Apple for free, even like with some sort of residual, at least you'd start getting your, the integration going on and going forward. I don't think you need to pay them to use your software. I mean, at that point, that's kind of contrary to business.
Right. Then my idea would be just go to the meeting and see what he has to say. And then be like, we need to think about it, and then come back with a proposal.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think.
I know.
That idea is just blowing my mind. How could they do that, Justin?
I just think when you put all your eggs in one basket and you're willing to take any offer someone gives you, it's a pretty good chance it's not going to be the right one. So,
yeah,
I just think.
Well, I think you need to have some idea of like what you're willing to accept, but like walking into the meeting and saying, "Hey, Steve Jobs, here's our proposal.
I know,
take
right?
it or leave it." Like, that's just a bad way to go about it.
He's like, "Wow, let's take this. This is a lot better than we were going to offer him."
No. Yeah, I think you go into that first meeting and really talk up your product.
Right, just sell yourself.
And yeah, and not even, you don't even have to, at that meeting, you don't even have to leave a proposal if they don't like ask for it specifically, but just talk your product up and let them know, like, through the quality of your product, that it's worth something to them.
Well, and you come prepared with any type of numbers they might ask you about, and any type of, what's called forecasting and stuff like that, so that you could give them the information. But you wouldn't be like, please buy us, please take us. I'll give you some money if you take us.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is I think they set themselves up for, a rougher go here in the fact that they don't have any actionable data from actual customers.
Right.
If they walked in there and said, look, our software is being used, our software is doing this for our customers, and these customers are really liking it, they're really enjoying the product, it's giving them more actionable data, the ads are more targeted, it's just everything is working out better. At that point, now when I look at your product, I'm like, all right, well, these are all the things that it can do for my customers that are already being done for somebody else's customers. Now I want this. Where I just go in there and say, yeah, we got a great idea, and oh, by the way, it works. It's like, well, it works, but why don't you have any customers? Like, I don't know. That's just the way I just can't get over that, I guess.
Right. Yeah, their customer didn't have a couple of customers, but it was just like more lucky shots. So.
Yeah, and not anything big time that's going to lead to huge things.
Yeah, company, a couple of ambulance, police department.
At the same time, though, I'm still on board with, talking it up and showing them the opportunity and say, hey, their loss, your gain, kind of thing.
Well, absolutely. I mean, if you got an opportunity like that, you're not going to walk in there and be like, yeah, nobody wants my product. I mean, seriously?
So don't get rid of us. Start a new
I'm definitely not a proponent of that. I'm just saying, like, they could have set themselves up way better.
No, yeah, I get that.
I totally get that.
Okay, E911. This was all about the voice over internet protocols, right?
Yeah.
And integration of cell phone 911 calls. Honestly, they should have just done that for premium.
Well, the problem is it was no longer basically needed because the VoIPs weren't getting pressed to have that feature. So they're like, oh, we don't really need it anymore, so we don't really need you anymore.
Well, but the thing is they were trying to sell it to them.
True. If they'd done it for free, they could have got them already set up and then.
Yeah, and that's the thing is if you're going to give me a service for free, like, hey, at that point, that's and honestly, if I went in, say to Apple and said, look, the only customer we have right now is 911 services, and we're doing that for free. This is the benefit it's providing. We're increasing the response times because of location data, yada, yada. I mean, even that's a customer. And at that point, you have more actionable data. And oh, by the way, it's a charitable service. You know, like I don't think anybody would look at that poorly. But if you're trying to charge them for it, like yeah, sure, but you know, it's revenue for you. But at the same time, like if it's not needed, they're not going to pay you for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What happened?
I was when I was reading that about E911, I was thinking about the risk involved with that. I mean that's a pretty big risk, a pretty big liability. I mean, they knew their technology was good, but you know they didn't have like any customers to validate at that point. You know, very many customers.
Well,
I
in
mean,
all their little tests, they had basically perfect positioning.
True. Well, they could also utilize the police cars, the ambulance. They could retrofit all of them with some sensors. I know they're talking about they could possibly do that. I just wonder if they could have actually got a better deal had they say, okay, we are officially working with E911, so we don't want to work with you guys to set up mapping. But I don't know.
What would they have gotten out of it, do you think, if they would have gone that route? Besides just the scanning.
Well, the scanning would have been decently valuable.
Yeah, you've got two different scenarios there. One was they were looking at using them for actually like scanning the neighborhoods.
Right.
The other is location services so that they can improve the response time of the 911 personnel. It's two separate deals, I think.
Right. It was, you're right. They basically could say ambulance number 1 is closest, send that one. So,
Right. And there was going to be an issue with it anyways, using the cars to scan the area because it wouldn't be all inclusive. But I think they would have saved money doing it that way. They probably could have saved on hiring Craigslist kids to go out and drive around.
sounds like they saved a good chunk of money doing that, though. I mean,
no, that was an awesome idea. I'm definitely not saying it wasn't. That was really cool.
because I probably would have done for $15 if I'd have known. Driving around.
For sure.
Yeah, it depends on how many miles you drove at 15 in an hour. Because you driving my vehicle, you can't drive an hour for $15.
I have a Prius, so no, I'm just kidding.
I've got an excursion.
I thought you were talking about your helicopter, Parley.
Well, that would really not work out. No mileage adjustment.
All right, let's talk Nokia real quick.
Nokia.
Well,
nobody really uses Nokia, so that's really a big problem.
exactly.
Yeah,
Better go Apple.
I kind of forgot.
They were like the number one cell phone people at the time, didn't it say?
For like a day, and then Apple came out, and then they were like,
No.
goodbye.
They were plenty. They up to that point, I think they were pretty big. But you're right.
I
They
used to have a Nokia.
went downhill after this. I had a Nokia, dude, and it went through the washing machine twice and was just fine.
We still had, for my business that I'm at right now, for our EMS response, we still had Nokia flip phones until about a month and a half ago when they finally gave us iPhones.
That's awesome.
Oh, it was horrible trying to get text messages off that thing. So what was the Nokia deal? Like I like it must have been really shortly mentioned because I don't even hardly remember it. I mean,
I don't remember very well either.
Nokia didn't want to pay. They wanted to do it for free. Like it even says, a key stumbling point was Skyhook's requirement that it get paid for its services. They'd ask for 30 cents to $1 per device. So
what page is that on?
Page 10. Second paragraph down.
There we go.
Because I think it talks about how Nokia has a bunch of different service groups within their company. And so they're basically like, if you're going to charge us, we've got a lot of different budgets and we don't know who's going to pay you. So we don't
Not only that, they had spent $8 billion to acquire Navtech.
Yeah.
And honestly, guys, is Nokia's technology the right technology for this, or the right application for this technology?
Hey,
I mean, like you said, flip phones and dumb phones.
You could better control where the snake is going on your screen, okay?
Okay, we're moving on. We're already at like 45 minutes. Here we go.
At that point right now, I mean, I bet if Nokia could look into the future, or have the hindsight that we have now, they for sure would have invested in them.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that would have been one of the reasons why they would have been still able to compete with Apple.
Early adopters of that technology. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe they would have done a better smartphone line. I don't think they even have one.
Moving on. Who benefits from the technology? What problem does it solve? Who has this problem? Do the business decision makers in the companies above feel the pain that this solution solves? Okay, so honestly, because this is an emerging technology, I don't know how much pain that these companies are feeling. I mean, it seems like there's a bit of an awareness of this kind of service, the GPS service. But I don't know that these companies are feeling the pain. Like, look at Microsoft. I think Microsoft, if they were feeling the pain, would have gone for it.
Yeah.
Well, because 10 years ago, here's the thing: what exactly does this service add to the manufacturer? I mean, like, what is it adding to Apple right now if they have that Wi-Fi service? Like, because of competition now, they have to have it there. But originally, what is it adding? Are they going to sell more phones because they have the ability to target ads to you more? Somebody has the ability to target ads to you more appropriately.
Well, I know they advertised it in their maps, because Google Maps or whatever the maps they were using on their phone, it was Google. Because I cheated and I watched a keynote, or part of a keynote by Steve Jobs, and they used both Google and Skyhook in their maps.
Again, at the time, what benefit was it to the manufacturer of the phone?
Well, that's just it. That's just it. It was their maps. They were going to have on your phone. You were going to have maps. That wasn't a thing back then. Not very much, anyways. You were going to have the ability to locate yourself and get anywhere you wanted to, anywhere close to you. And Wi-Fi was a huge part of that, because you can't use GPS indoors. You couldn't. So if you wanted to be in your house and look on a map and find the things that were closest to you and have your phone know where you were when you were indoors, that wasn't really a thing yet. It was a difficult thing. And so I think that was huge for Apple, especially being a company that adopts technology very early on.
Yeah, but at the time, I could just type my address into a search bar and then find out everything around me.
Right. So, but if you were at McDonald's, you're like, what's McDonald's address? You know what I mean?
Yes.
And you wanted to go somewhere. And I think that was big for Apple. But I totally see what you're saying too, partly because Microsoft, who maybe isn't as good at incorporating these technologies early on, was like, whatever, we don't really need it.
Well, what I'm getting at is that they're looking at these big companies as the customers. And the fact is that the big company isn't the customer. Like, Apple isn't the customer. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I think it goes back to that chicken and egg thing. Like,
yeah,
marketing people are the customer. The people who want to sell to me, because I'm sitting here in Rexburg, Idaho, looking at the nearest gas station, and that gas station wants to be the closest one to me. And so the marketers are one who are really the customer, but they have to have it on Microsoft equipment, Google, Android equipment, Apple equipment for it to work. So it's like, who manufactures it so that other people can use it? And yeah, I mean, what benefit does Apple get by basically funding it? I mean, it's I don't know.
Well, yeah.
Well, I think
what I was getting at is that
Apple have by putting a camera on the phone. There's no benefit to Apple other than it helps sell their phone.
Right.
I mean, if this is the latest and greatest,
I got that. But again, it's indirect. Like, they're putting a camera on their phone because the cost of putting in the phone is justifiable by the revenue that they're going to generate. Okay? It's a cause and effect.
And this location services wouldn't be?
No, it is. But the thing is they're going to put it in there based on what they perceive they're going to get back from it. So they're going to be willing to pay based on what they perceive they're going to get back from it. Whereas Whereas if you're talking about like the perceived value for someone trying to do local ads or targeted ads in the advertising arena, that's going to be substantially higher, because if I can take and I can target ads successfully to a customer base in a specific area that I'm looking to use, my revenue dollars in advertising are now going to be exponentially more beneficial. So I'm going to be willing to more willing to utilize something like that than, because now I'm the one actually paying for the service. See, Apple doesn't have to pay for anything to put that in there or not put it in there. You know what I mean? And likely, they sold the first Apple phone just fine without it in there. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Of course, this is going to be, a commoditized industry and not too long. And I think they're aware of that competitors are going to come up and they need to find differentiators. Now, and you were saying that Apple isn't the customer. I disagree. I think Apple 100% is the customer. Now, the question is do you market to Apple, or do you market to consumers of the phone who want this? And it reminds me of like Airbnb or HomeAway, for example. We read about HomeAway. That was this class, right? That was a Ponder and Prove.
No, I don't think so. Yeah,
sorry, that's my other class. So, but HomeAway and Airbnb, their customers are the people who are listing their homes. But what they did, or what HomeAway did anyways, is they said, we're not going to market to those people. We're not going to go to the people listing their homes at all, even though those guys are the ones paying us money. We're going to go to the customers, or their customers, and we're going to convince them that they want this. And we're going to bring as many people to our website as we can. And then once the people who have homes to list see that, then they'll come to us, kind of thing.
See, that's kind of what I'm referring to, in the sense that Apple really isn't the customer.
Well, no. Don't confuse it, because Apple is definitely the customer. 100%. Whoever is paying you is your customer. And
again, my point though is while Apple may be giving you money is because their customers are paying them for that device.
But that's everything. That's retail.
Apple is the partner. It's a strategic alliance.
I agree to disagree.
And furthermore, I think part of the reason why they have all their problems is because they're looking at Apple as the customer and trying to get Apple to pay for it.
Yeah.
Better success partnering with Apple and having advertisers pay them to utilize the device or the service within Apple. So partnering with Apple to get a service embedded in there at basically a partnership type scenario where both of them can share some revenue. And that now embedded software through other companies who are wanting to use that service. That they get revenue for that, and it gets split between the two. That's a much better scenario and a whole lot more willing. I bet you if they went back to Nokia or Microsoft or even the E911 service, which now that one might be a little different because there's not really revenue being generated. We'd like to partner with you. We want to put our product in there. We're going to cover the cost of putting it in there. But as we start generating revenue from advertising services that happen and other things that are taking place as far as the phone usage from that. But you don't have to pay us. It's the end customer that's paying. And now we're going to split that between the two of us. Like, I don't know.
No, I hear you. That makes more sense to me now. Okay, we're moving on though. It's 52 minutes into this sucker, so let's hit 7. Which strategy option do you favor? Local ads, sell the company, persevere. Now, I don't think it's fair that you only have to choose one. I think 2 of those definitely can go together, but
yeah,
let's all choose one. Each one of those is 1, 2, and 3. On the count of 3, we're all going to say it. This is my favorite part of every meeting.
Well, what are they again?
Local ads is number 1. Sell the company. Sell the company is number 2, and then persevere is number 3. Stay the course.
All right.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
3.
What was yours, Connor?
3.
Did you say
I think he
all of
said
them,
all three.
Connor?
No.
I think he did say 1, 2, 3.
Oh my gosh.
No, I
so-
did not say 1, 2, 3. I said
So I heard-
3.
I heard Alex was
So-
at 3. What was everybody else?
Persevere.
I said 1. Honestly, I felt 3 to begin with. Like I went into the discussion with 1, and then I've convinced myself that 1 is the better option.
Well,
Like I
the thing
said,
is,
I think you could totally put 1 and 2 together. Yeah, right.
yeah, because you're going to persevere by doing local ads.
Right. And you persevere by going to, I mean, a lot is going to be hinged on this Apple thing. So maybe you say if Apple falls through, then we try to start focusing on local ads and then build from there. But as of now, why the heck not shoot for both? Say we're going to get Apple, persevere, and then we can look into local ads. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sell the company doesn't make any sense anyway. Stupid.
Right. Okay, we're not even going to argue it because it just asks us to vote. So number 8, convince everyone in your group that you have the right plan. Oh, for each of the options,
I've done that the whole time.
discuss how likely Skyhook will be to succeed given the following circumstances: current team skills, resources, business model. Beautiful. I don't know, guys. This is 6 minutes left. We're turning this off at 10 o'clock.
They've been bringing in people when they've been having a need. So I think their current team skills are pretty good because they keep getting in some well-rounded people that have different skills, different areas, and they are all able to take on multiple tasks to save money. So I think that part's pretty good.
Yep. And they've done awesome things so far. Like,
yeah, resources, I think they're not making any money, but they have enough money to keep going. So
yeah, they do. Lovely.
the business model, I never met her. She's probably pretty good looking.
There's an asset. There you go. The business model.
Yeah, can't get rid of that.
Okay, I'm just gonna agree with all of you. I agree. Good arguments for that. As a group, prepare an agenda for your call with Steve Jobs. What is your BATNA? What are your job interests? Or what are job interests? Why did he
This
call
is
you?
Harley. This is
Harley.
totally Parley. This is Parley right here.
What are you
Yeah,
talking
probably
about?
go. Best alternative to negotiating, whatever it is,
What is our best alternative?
to negotiated agreement.
That.
I googled it.
What about local ads? Did you not read the supplementary reading, Justin?
No, there's supplementary reading.
Yes, it was called negotiation something or other.
An introduction.
Oh, I see it now. I'll start reading it.
Okay.
Holy crap! 16 pages.
Yeah, it's.
He's like, what? No.
Well, that was good. Anyway, so We're
So I think maybe ads, maybe local ads is where we're at right now. If we don't land the Apple thing, we pivot.
Yeah. As far as your this BATNA, honestly, like again, I think this is totally inconsequential as far as like the discussion in the. We have no idea what Steve Jobs' position is.
The first meeting, right?
Yeah, to have the first meeting and be walking in there with like, you know, hey, this is our negotiation points. Like,
He may just want to buy Skyhook. He may invite you in, pour you a glass of water, and say, "I want to acquire your company," and you're going to be sitting there going, "Ooh, and my proposal is worth nothing now." You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's completely inconsequential. Like, you need to go into that and kind of get a feel for what they're even looking for. Like, you know, one of our other cases, like he called people and said, "Hey, this is the service. What do you guys think?" And they're like, "No, I don't like this. So what can I do to make it better?" And then he takes that and he's like, "All right, well, let me sell you that. I'll get you that."
right, that was a good one.
You know, like he was actively manipulating pivoting his product based on every single call, not walking in and saying, "This is what we have. Take it away."
Yeah, that guy didn't have any worries though. He had like $10 million already. And I think that's the problem with these guys is they're on the verge of being broke. So they're like,
but they've already been given like almost $16 million. Like, it's not
They
like
have
they're
a salary now, yeah.
Yeah, they got a salary. It's not like they're their investors aren't going to leave them high and dry. I mean, shoot, their last round of investment, 33% of that came from the original investors anyway. It's not like the original investors are like feeling like they're, if the original investors were like worried about the where things were going and the viability of the business, they wouldn't be forking up more money.
Guys, my favorite question in this group of questions, or my favorite question of this question group is, why did he call you?
Sorry, wrong number.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, I'd love to meet you and have lunch with you and discuss nothing relative to your company. I think he wants to talk about a deal. I don't know. That's just speculation, though. Any disagreements there, Connor? You may disagree with me.
No.
I don't know. I think will you pay Apple to get into their device? That seems a little bit interesting too.
I don't know. It may be an opportunity.
What to push to your investors is, hey, we got to deal with Apple, but we've got to pay them so they will use it. I mean,
right.
I think you're right when you say the freemium option, where you're like, okay, we'll give it to you, and make it so it can get bigger along the way. But paying them to use it just seems interesting.
And just imagine, I think you'd have to have an agreement where you made Apple sign a contract that said they're not allowed to tell anybody that they pay for it. Because when somebody else comes to you, you know what I mean? And is like, hey, we're interested in your service. Pay us. It's like, I don't know how that's going to work out. So yeah, you've got to sign a contract with Apple that says, we want the recognition that we're going through you, but you have to tell everybody you're paying us loads of money for it.
That sounds honest.
We just gave them $1 trillion. Yeah.
And it's so worth it. Okay. How big is this opportunity for Skyhook? I think it's make or break. Well, not necessarily make or break, but for this direction they're going in, it's make or break for the time being.
Yeah. It's very critical.
Yeah. Like I said, I think if this falls through, you maybe try for a couple more months on this path, and then you pivot, and you start focusing on the local ads. Okay, it is 10 o'clock right now, boys.
All right, I'm gonna stop this broadcast.
It's been great.